So, welcome back to the Theatres of Dreams. This is the extra time edition, your end of the week edition. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll only see two of us here. Myself and Don Bars, once again, the blue and the red side of Manchester have turned up. Somehow, the red side of Liverpool hasn't turned up. He says he's engaged. I have no idea what he's engaged in, Don, but there's a pattern to this now.
There is a pattern to this. And this takes me back to my granddad saying to me when I was a Blues fan back in the day when we were skinned, that you take your medicine and you have a bit of resilience and you support your team through thick and thin. And I think that is currently definitely the same for the United fans. You've enjoyed that flavour of failure for a decade or so. And Liverpool don't do that, do they? So I think it's fantastic. It couldn't happen to a better club and a better person as Richard.
We'll come on to Liverpool in a moment because the headlines are it's their worst run in 71 years. But it wasn't a good weekend for all three of our teams. And when's the last time you were looking at the stats on this? The last time that both City, Liverpool, and Manchester United lost on the same weekend?
It was 2015 because you asked the question in our group and I went, oh, that's a good one. So I had a quick look.
Was it 2015?
2015. So 10 years. It was around about, it was at end of a November, I think it was a December, and the three of us lost. So if you think about it, 2015, you guys were off the boil. Liverpool were not at their best at that point. So there's more chance of it happening if you think about it statistically then, because City were probably, good. I think it just got us in a transition period where all three of us were quite at it. And the time before that was 2000, when only you were any good, really. Liverpool maybe were okay and we were pathetic. So, been a long time since all three of us lost.
It was quite incredible. This start on Saturday, and this goes to St James's. Were you at this game?
No, I wasn't. I mean, I'd love to go. I'd love to go to Newcastle. The atmosphere looked fabulous. It was a good game, wasn't it? I mean, I'm obviously disappointed in the result, but it was a great game.
It was a really cracking game. 2-1 to Newcastle United, for those of you who don't know. City dominated possession, but not on the XG, although you had 17 shots, but not many on target. What was going on there, Dom?
So overall, I was frustrated at the end. You look at that and you think anything at St James's Park is difficult, right? Even when they're not finishing top four, to get anything at Newcastle is a tough ask. Tea time Saturday under the lights, and when they're good, they're really good, aren't they? So when they get their first 11 out and they're fit and the Geordies are up for it, it's tough. We've got some brilliant games there recently, 4-3s and 3-3s and all sorts. It's been brilliant. So I took a point probably before the game. But yes, Newcastle had chances. Absolutely, no doubt they had chances, and we looked a bit fragile at the back at times and needed to make some saves. But if we'd have had our shooting boots on, we'd have been 2 up at half time, because some of the build-up play was, brilliant, really good. The way we're playing is so good on the eye and so much better. But obviously, you've got to say, if Haaland doesn't score and he hasn't quite got his shooting boots on, then City don't score. Can't argue with that at the moment. And that's really what happened. He had a couple of really good chances by his standards, fluffed them. Phil Foden had an absolute gilt-edged chance and put it wide. So, if you don't take your chances in this league, you get punished. And that's just what happened, really. I think there was a few decisions, wasn't there? The referee had a bit too much involvement. There's a VAR. The penalty for me is a penalty, but I'm going to say that he wiped Foden out. They're saying he got a shot away, sort of, but he got took out. So I don't really understand why that wasn't a penalty. Then the offside is about an elbow or something, So we didn't really get quite the rub of the green, but Harvey Barnes scored a couple of really neat finishes. And, you just take your medicine for not taking control. City do that, though, don't they? Even when we're at our best, we always give the other team a chance.
Well, it's interesting. I'm looking at a match momentum chart here. It's actually on the BBC website, and you know the goal that they scored on 63 minutes came after a long period of possession by City. And they obviously just caught you on the break. And then you bounce back a little bit, you get your goal, and then Newcastle dominate for a period and get their second. And then it looked like for the last, I don't know, third of the game, it was backs against the wall, you know, in terms of you having the ball, them not really having the ball, but it didn't look like it was coming to much.
No, look, it would take a medicine. It could have gone either way. A couple of decisions that we would, Newcastle would say no, that they were right. We're going to say they're not. Alan Shearer was on the telly saying that they could have had 6 or 7. I mean, calm yourself down, Alan. Yeah, but it was end to end. It was a good game of football. Didn't go our way, and this is why I still feel that we are going to be second, because Newcastle go there and will win ugly. That's the difference.
Oh, you mean Arsenal?
Sorry, Arsenal. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know we'll come on to Arsenal in a minute because there seems to be a momentum there. Let's go to Anfield. I think it was at 3 o'clock, and it ended up being Nottingham Forest 3, Liverpool 0. I thought Forest were good value for this. I thought the goals, from what I can remember, my memory's terrible, but when I saw them at the weekend, I thought the goals were good goals.
Well, the teams at the bottom of the league have suddenly woken up, haven't they? The guys who've had a slow start. West Ham and Forest particularly, suddenly come alive with a couple of back-to-back wins. They were fantastic. I mean, Liverpool are there for the taking, as we all know. But credit where credit's due. You wouldn't have thought under the new Forest manager that they would play as expansively. But you've got to remember, a few months ago, they were competing at the top end of the table. There are some quality players there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they just clicked and they got it going. They got an England midfielder. They've got Gibbs White, who's an England midfielder really on the cusp of it. They've got the wingers. They've got a defence that was very miserly last year. They've got a half decent keeper. They'll probably just rattle up the league now. They're out. They were very good. They were very good. And Liverpool, once you get a goal against them at the moment, they just capitulate, don't they?
It wasn't really dice ball, was it? Because they played expansively when they had the ball.
Clinical, because quality, but they've got quality players. Again, this league's really got. Like, we argue that the top isn't quite as elite as it's been with some of these Galactico, City, Liverpool teams. There's only Arsenal at that level right now. City could get to that if they keep developing. Might be a little too late, but there's only Arsenal that are proper European strength at the moment. But everybody else can beat everyone. It's fantastic. It's only Wolves who are adrift. Even Burnley and Leeds at the bottom.
It's interesting how poorly, though, Liverpool are misfiring, because they had 21 shots. They had a positive XG of 2, and they only had 4 shots on target, versus Newcastle had 15 shots, an XG of 1.4, but they have 7 on target. It's quite unbelievable how blunt Liverpool are at the moment, and having spent money on forwards.
I know that obviously they've lost Diaz, who I still think they're missing him badly. It's Bayern's benefit. Obviously, the poor Diego Jota incident.
Yes, of course.
Those two, I mean, it's been talked about a bit about Jota this week, about how much impact is that having. Emotionally, clearly it is. But footballing wise, he's a great player. So they're missing them too. But when you look and you think, having said that, you've got Ekitike, who actually I think is settled, considering he's come from another country and dropped in. I think he's done ever so well, really. Isak, it's quite unbelievable, the drop off there, isn't it? It's unbelievable. I mean, surely at some point he will go back to being the right Isak, but I bet he wishes he was at Newcastle. Dear me.
Yeah.
He's got this price tag. So they've got enough forward line, haven't they? Gakpo and Salah. There's no reason when you look at the players on the pitch, you can't say they haven't got quality.
Well, we'll come on to Liverpool, because I was watching the highlights from the Champions League game last night, and I was actually astounded how poor a lot of their players were out of possession, tracking back, the lack of effort, and you sort of think what's going on there because that's not typical of that team, but or maybe not typical traditionally of that team. It's also let's just finish off with Burnley nil, Chelsea 2, because Chelsea are going through the motions very well. They seem to be under the covers. A 2-0 result. Scott Parker in the Burnley dugout, of course, and yeah, I mean, 15 shots to 8 in favour of Chelsea, and they had 5 on target. They were quite ruthless, actually. But yeah, I have to say, Chelsea are just going about what they're doing very quietly, almost under the radar, aren't they, Dom?
Yeah, I'll probably bite me on the bum. This, I don't. I think they're slightly inflated on their position. They spent a lot of money on that team, right? So they should be in the top 6 minimum. I mean, really, they should be higher than that. Because of Liverpool's fall off, you would see them finishing third or fourth. But I don't think that they're ready. I mean, they did beat Burnley. I watched that game. It was fine margins, you know. If Burnley had got some better quality in the final third, which just being realistic, they didn't have. Actually, some of their play was really good and organised, and again, another strong Premiership team. And it was just one moment of one great ball or one defensive switch off on the fullback for a minute. They get a goal, and then they score the second in the 88th minute. So yes, they won and they deserve to win it probably, but look, we're only 12 games in. It's quite funny how it feels like we've been at it for ages because everyone's like written teams off because of the way that we've had this capitulation with Liverpool. But City were apparently out of it after 3 games because we lost 2. You know, the only consistent is Arsenal. When Liverpool beat Arsenal, there was, Liverpool are going to run away with this. So the media is really creating a topsy-turvy narrative at the moment.
They
I
are.
think.
They
Yeah.
are.
So, but Chelsea will be there or thereabouts, definitely top 4. Don't think they can get anywhere close to Arsenal. The only club is probably City. If they keep improving, could try and hope that Arsenal beat themselves up again. But Liverpool is just a distraction that nobody saw coming.
No, definitely didn't. This turned actually to Arsenal on Sunday because it was a North London derby, Arsenal versus Tottenham, and I gotta say, it was the easy show. It was easy for Arsenal. It was 4-1, a hat trick, and they absolutely dominated the game. If you
Yeah.
look at it, really, and I mean, what astounds me here, Dom, is Tottenham only had 3 shots the whole game.
No, they were poor. I mean, I'm living in hope here, thinking, "Come on, Arsenal! Come on, Tottenham! Slow them down! Slow them down! They're missing, Gabriel in defence. Calafiori played. I think he's fantastic. So they were only really missing Gabriel, and it's just the quality of that squad. They just blew them away. But actually, this is what Liverpool had last year. If there's no pressure put on these teams the day before, right? So had we have won at Newcastle, obviously we didn't. We go 1 point behind them. I think we would have been right, and then the only way Arsenal, as I say, will capitulate is a mental.
Yeah.
PTSD almost that
Yes.
they've blown it before. They'll talk themselves out of it. Now, if we go and lose and Liverpool lose the day before, doesn't have to take the pressure off. And that's what happened to Liverpool last year for Slot. I'm not saying he had it easy, but City's had a very, very similar capitulation to Liverpool's. So there was no one to compete. So by the time they played on a Sunday, it was a free hit. And that's what happened. So Arsenal's squad and power stood out. And Eze, they keep spending. We can't get away from the fact that it's a nearly £1 billion squad. Let's just remember that. They've worked hard at it. They've added each year. They've stuck with the manager. This has been a relentless pursuit that they're not going to give up on Arteta or investment until they win it. It's an inevitability because of the way they're waiting for, which has happened, the other teams to fade, and they're staying constant. So that's what's going on. But they were brilliant. And Eze's already scored a wonderful goal against Palace to get a 1-0 win. And he went and run the show. So if that lad's worth 12 points this season of match-winning goals himself, and that's the difference. They keep adding that calibre of squad player, then it's like the elite
Yes.
City
Yes.
teams from
Yes.
3 years ago when we won the treble.
It's definitely easier to add and tweak from a position of strength, and they're in a position of strength at the
Big time,
moment.
big
And
time.
just to finish off the results on Sunday, Leeds United won, Aston Villa 2. So Aston Villa continue to, if you like, just tick over, and they're in fourth place now with 21 points. City with 22 points. You've definitely bounced back, haven't you? Chelsea in second place with 23 points, and ahead with 29 points is Arsenal. You got to say, you're coming into the Christmas window. I haven't looked at the Christmas schedule, but if they're there at the turn and they've got that sort of gap, you can see them cantering on, Dom.
Well, I mean, let's just cover Arsenal quickly now before we get into the real fun and games of Liverpool. But I mean, they've conceded six goals in all
Yes.
competitions, right? One of them was a wonder goal from Bayern Munich last night, but they still bullied. They bullied Bayern last night. Bayern, good side, never settled. I wouldn't say it's the prettiest football that Arsenal are playing, but if you're an Arsenal fan, who cares? Because it's powerful football. It's almost got a Mourinho-esque element to it, where it's got good quality, sprinkles of brilliance in the flair plays. I mean, Saka's such a player in it. Like Saka's delivery and Declan Rice's delivery. Like Saka's balls in from corners, dead balls last night was just outstanding.
I think that's the thing is what he's done this year. He's got a bit more strength, a bit more ruggedness, and they're able to create goals from lots of different types of play. They're not one-dimensional in any way, and they've got a bit of squad depth as well. I mean, I gotta say, Arteta has definitely learned from last season, and he's done well over the summer just to
Credit,
tweak things.
yeah, absolutely. But you've got to say, and I'm not, God, Arteta's he gets a bit emotional for me on the side of the pitch. I mean, I wish he'd stay in his little box. I'd be giving him a few more yellow cards, but you've got to give Arsenal Football Club
Yes.
the credit, because this is why, of course, City did well and Pep's fantastic. But Pep was fantastic because he was allowed to be fantastic and he was given all the resources he needs and the trust. And that's exactly what Arsenal have done. They've trusted him. They could have gone and panicked and gone, well, Arteta can't quite get there. They haven't. And that's what I'm saying. There's a relentless plan. They've added another 250 million quid's worth of players this summer. We talk about Liverpool's 450 not working. Arsenal were already working and added 250. And as I say, Eze, 65 million, looks pretty cheap, doesn't he, by modern day standards for what he's doing? And he will get them over the line. He will get them over the line. Calafiori, what a signing he is. I mean, they've just added great quality and been patient, and it's going to take them 5 years and £1 billion, but they're going to end up winning a title.
So it basically meant at the end of the weekend, but we have Monday to go, actually. So we'll go into Monday because I was at Old Trafford and I have to remind myself the score. I don't need to, actually. It was United 0, Everton 1. Moisey was back. I mean, I guess the one thing about this was the red card. And it was remarkable. The two players getting involved in a fight at 13 minutes. Gay with Michael Keane. I mean, I was in the opposite end of the Stretford end. That's where the incident happened, and we saw this red card. First of all, we didn't know who it was for, and then we didn't know what it was for. And it wasn't until I came home and watched the highlights, because I didn't bother checking my phone, but somebody else checked their phone and went, "He just hit his own teammate," and you sort of think it was ridiculous.
Well, he had to get sent off.
Well,
just by the lesser of the law. If it wasn't Bowyer, Dyer, it wasn't proper swinging. That was a proper fight. They were really going for each other when they were at Newcastle. But it was just out of the blue. Like Gay just overreacting, wasn't he? He was overreacting. He deserved to get sent off, but all of a sudden it's okay because they went and won. Like Moyes at the end going, well, I don't mind a little bit of.
I heard that.
And even Amrin was going, well, I wish my players had fight with each other, So it was dusted over pretty quick, rather than it becoming a big issue that could have meant a big long ban or something.
But what it showed it's the infinite problem of United this season. We cannot break a team that are defending for their lives in the low block, whatever.
You can't.
We cannot find the key that unlocks that. And there was the pattern of play almost went out the window. And it turned out to be a game where you just sort of thought, this just shows our level. We couldn't get a goal. We could have still been playing and not got a goal.
The low block is a nemesis for you. It is.
Really
the,
is.
the players you've got, like Mbeumo's a great signing, but he needs to get a run on a man. He needs to be, it needs to become a stretched game for him to do his thing. I thought before the game when Kuna was out injured, that was a big blow because Everton are a very, very organised side. So even before the game, there's no way they're going to give you anything like without working for it. Like Moyes has got that team, got two good wingers in Grealish and I've forgotten his name,
Ndoye, yes.
Yeah, great player. So those two are doing great. They haven't got a centre forward, but they're incredibly organised at the back.
Pickford's decent
he's a good keeper.
Yeah,
he's a good keeper. So I mean, he's a bit of a character, but his statistics are he always makes 3 or 4 saves a game. He always does. So it was always going to be difficult. And I think when Kuna's not there, that's why you bought him because he can make stuff happen from nothing. And it just became very predictable. And Xerxes, as much as he's huffing and puffing and trying, there's just not enough guile in the midfield.
So Dom, I found myself actually on Tuesday because I'm not a Xerxes fan at all, and I don't think he fits in the team. I was talking to my son about it, and I was being quite critical of him. And he said, "Dad, he's 19 or something, right?" And I thought to myself, "Yeah, okay, he's 19, but actually, is age really a factor here?" Because I'll be honest with you, for a minute I felt a bit guilty, thinking, have I been a little bit over the top on this guy? Because you sort of think if lots of people do, you worry about their mental health and all this. But I cannot see for the life of me what type of player he is. I don't know where he fits.
It doesn't even look. I was going to say, he doesn't look like a footballer. The way he plays and his mobility. He's an athlete. He's a big, strong boy. He's an athlete, but it's not his fault he got signed by such a big club. Let's be truthful. But if he was playing for, no disrespect, if he was up front for Leeds or Burnley or Wolves now, or in the Championship, you'd go, yeah, that's about your level. Preston North End or something like that,
That's really it.
Puffing and puffing and good effort and getting maybe 10 goals and 5 assists in a lower league, but not at United trying to be a salvation.
But what bugs me about this, Tom, is I bet you anything, if he was sold in January and went to a club on the continent, he'd be banging goals everywhere. It seems, I don't know what it is at the moment, but he doesn't bring people into play. He's not like a traditional 10.
No, he's not.
He's not a 9. He's not a striker, and he's wearing 11. That typically is a wing. Doesn't really matter these days, does it? But you sort of think I haven't ever seen him really run with the ball. Tack a player. We were just blunt, absolutely blunt. It was a shambles of a game. And puts a bit of pressure back on Ruben Amorim and also shows how light the squad is. But, also I'll be critical of Mainu. He's come on recently, for Casemiro in a couple of games. He's not a game changer in any way. You wonder what is your game, and that's the thing that I'm getting really frustrated with is that you're looking at players and saying, you're coming on, but you're not changing the game. I don't know what you're doing on the pitch,
We build them all up. I mean, Kobbie Mainoo did look good when he first come on the scene, but he's just but all of a sudden he's become your Rico Lewis. So just people burst on the scene. No one knows anything about them, but then when they work them out,
yes.
Look, there's loads of false dawns with players, isn't there? I mean, the one I really like at your club is Ahmad. I think he's brilliant. I think he's brilliant. But again, maybe not that type of game where he can do his thing against an Everton low block. You just got to give credit that, of course, they had 10 men for nearly all the match. Everton are tough cookies, but you've got to be disappointed you didn't get more clear-cut opportunities. But look, that's where you are, and I think it's a reminder you've done very well. The league's very tight. You get a couple of wins, and you think all of a sudden people can be in the top six. But the reality is, you've got to keep working on that squad, haven't you?
You know what it throws up for me, Dom, is this question about in-game management on the pitch or on the side. And I don't see, and maybe I'm just reading the game wrong, but I don't see enough in-game management either by the leaders on the pitch. I don't see leaders, and I don't see the manager making suitable enough changes. He's sticking to, I mean, this is the thing, right? He stuck to his 3-4-2-1, right? They were a man down. We didn't ever think about the overload. We didn't change that structure. And he didn't think about changing the structure. And that, to me, basically says, Amran, are you like a monkey to this formation? Are you able to adapt? You know, and every good manager always change things around. I haven't seen that. And he's either so bloody minded or one dimensional or whatever it is. And that for me it's never been what United's been about. You know, Alex Ferguson, our greatest manager, could change and adapt, whether it was before the game or in the game or whatever. And the players themselves knew to do something different. We are just so rigid.
Yeah.
And it's really bugging me, you know?
Yeah, you are. You are. You are. You're right, actually. It's a good point. Is that the sign that Amarin's not really top draw? Is he really top draw? He's not proven anything to say he is. He did all right, so he did well in the Portuguese league, and you know, of course, he did. He had some good results with those teams, but it's a cute. We've said it a million times. It's such a job at your place, and you do look at. I mean, he's having ups and downs at Tottenham, but you do look at Frank. You definitely look at the Villa manager. Villa are incredibly lucky to have him. He did well at Arsenal with less resource. He did brilliant on the continent with less resource. Yes, he spent some money at Villa, but they had a terrible start. Remember, they lost the first four, didn't score a goal. Now look where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
They just keep winning. The only team to beat them is Liverpool.
And they're under the covers, actually. They're just going about it without any fuss, you know?
Well, actually, that would be the team. If Liverpool have capitulated to the point where, I mean, would you even say that they wouldn't get top four? They still can get top four. Of course they can. They've got enough quality in that squad to fix it. But if they don't, then you'd look at Villa being definitely fancying the chances for that fourth spot. Yeah, definitely.
Let's turn to Champions League. We're talking about top four, because on Tuesday night, where in terms of the home sides, Chelsea were at home to Barcelona, City were at home to Bayern Leverkusen. Now, let's take your game to begin with. On paper, you would give City the edge, but Bayern Leverkusen are no monkeys at all, are they? And yet he made, 10 changes before the game?
Yeah, so, if you think about the landscape of that, we've had a very good start, 4 wins and a draw. Is that right? 4 wins and a draw? I got that right? No, 3 wins and a draw. 3 wins and a draw. We beat Borussia at home. This was another home game. And you're thinking, right, let's get it done. This puts us in an incredibly strong position before the last 3 games. And we can then not take a foot off the gas, but, we can be in a very strong position. Because this is not an easy thing to get in the top 8 in this mini league thing. And also, Bayern Leverkusen are missing players. Yeah, that was not their first team. They're missing quite a few players.
I didn't know that.
I found this on the night because I was randomly with Bayer Leverkusen people where I was sitting, and they were telling me there was a lot missing. And they're a team in transition. This isn't the Bayer Leverkusen that Alonso had that won the title. This is a rebuilt young team, right? So I got myself sitting there hearing about this. City's team was a second string team. And of course, on paper, you look at them as individual players and go, well, all of them can play in the Premiership in some team. And totally agree. Totally agree. But you don't take 10 lads who have either been injured, lacking in confidence, lacking in gameplay, have zero rhythm at match play in a competitive league, and then expect them to turn up in the Champions League and perform with any sort of confidence. All the passes were safe The tempo was very safe. It was all so flat. The fans were therefore flat. It was a lovely, crisp evening. We'd had a band on. We'd had a firework display. You know, we'd had all the usual
I
razzmatazz.
know the band.
Yeah, oh, brilliant! That lad looked like he's on the time of his life.
Yeah.
And that was the best bit about it. The game was the most pathetic Champions League game, European game I've seen since we were probably having Stuart Pearce or Ericsson taking us to some random tournament where we lost 1-0 at home to some team I couldn't spell. And it was just a terrible performance. So Pep's got to own that. Too many swaps and some disappointing performances. Some of the lads, you got to give a bit of breathing space because they've been injured. So Mamouche is only just coming back. Did he get any service? I felt a bit sorry for him because he needed some goals. Ait Nouri got hooked at half time, but he's not played any football. He's been in a case in his foot. So they're all coming back. Nathan Aki was, you know, he can be brilliant, but they just all looked off the pace, which was to be expected. He should have just changed 3 or 4. The biggest disappointment, which a lot of the City pages are ranting about, if you follow them on the different TikTok and Instagram reels, is that we're getting really frustrated now with Savinho and Oscar Bob. Really frustrated with their lack of NEM products. And it's really obvious when you see Doku and everybody else who've stepped up to another level. They're just playing within themselves. No M product from Savio. He's trying, but he's currently the new Sterling. The way the City fans are, he's definitely getting he's getting a kick in at the moment. And Oscar Bob, everybody loves him because he's like the homegrown lad. And none of us are comfortable saying it, but he needs to just have a look in the mirror and realise that he's going to blow his opportunity to play in this team and he'll end up gone like others if he doesn't sort himself out. Yeah. So it was just, Pep got it wrong and the lads didn't take advantage. And we disrespected Bayer Leverkusen, we disrespected the tournament, and now we've got a situation where we're away at Madrid next time out. We've then got Galatasaray at home. Anything could happen there. And then we've got Bode Glint.
Right? Oh, yes.
Right? So we've now put ourselves back in a thing where we need to win 2 of 3. If we'd have won and got it done and played the lads on Tuesday night, bearing in mind it's a home game, and our league game on Saturday is at home against Leeds at 3:00. We haven't got to go anywhere on a plane. There's no travelling. Why on earth did he not start with his proper side, get it won, and then pull them off for a breather? He didn't.
Was Pep being a bit arrogant, or was he being a bit
over trusting? He loves to trust his squad, doesn't he? He does. He has a reputation for that, and actually he's proven half the time to be good at using his squad in the winter. Like Rico Lewis seems to get more game time from November to February, but when it comes to the business end, he doesn't get on the pitch again. He tends to use them as like little Swiss Army knives that he has in his squad to get some points. This one bit him on the bum. He got it horribly wrong, and we deserve what we got, which was nothing. And those fans that paid to go to that match,
yes,
I'll tell you what, I got lucky. I got a free ticket for that game from a friend who let me go at the last minute. If I'd have paid, I'd have been absolutely spitting feathers because there was what were we entertained by? What were we doing? It was terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, it's very surprising. You sort of think what went on there to be. It just smacks a bit of arrogance, really, you know, and it's either arrogance or ignorance. And it's not. He's not an ignorant manager, but
he disrespected it. He disrespected the game.
Yeah. Somebody who didn't disrespect the game and probably the match of the tie was Chelsea 3, Barcelona 0. And again, sort of lads, credit to Chelsea. Now, there was a man sent off for Barcelona in the 44th minute, and they were a goal up after an own goal. Did you see any of this?
Yeah, bits of it, if I'm honest. I was watching the other games, to be truthful, but I wasn't overly surprised that Chelsea did Barcelona. Barcelona missing a couple of players. And I don't think either of the Spanish giants are
the
contenders this year.
Yeah.
Of course, a fantastic team, and any win against Barca or Madrid is brilliant. Of course it is. But, you know, Liverpool beat Real Madrid 1-0 and everyone was going, here we go, we're back. And then they've got smashed every week since. So, I mean, the one last night did Real Madrid away at Olympiacos. But when they're playing proper teams, I don't think Barca and Madrid are at that level. I think there's a category, isn't there? Don't you think it's Madrid and Barca, City, Liverpool definitely at the best, Chelsea, who were all sort of in transition, trying to get to the top of the table. And then you're really saying that your top three are, for me, is Arsenal, Bayern, and PSG. And the winner will probably come from one of them three, unless there's an upset.
And if you look at the Barcelona lineup, and just to take your point there, I guess you always assume that they're one of the greats of European football, but you look at their lineup, you see Lewandowski out there, but he's what, 35, something like that, isn't he?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. They've not really invested in. Remember, they've not invested in that team because they're skint.
they're broke, and,
So
they're
they've took.
building a new stadium as well. Yeah,
Yeah, they've got. I mean, if it wasn't for Yamal, who's like an absolute superstar,
yeah.
and a few of the young lads, Pedri, and that's where they're holding it together, and then they sprinkle it with older heads who are on the way down.
So tell me, you saw Rashford and he came on in the 46th minute. Was he doing anything? Did he show any ability?
I didn't see it. I didn't see enough to be able to comment. To be truthful, again, it's probably Barcelona level, isn't it? That's where they're at.
Yeah,
Good
true.
quality players, but not necessarily world class, except for Yamal.
Yeah.
So I think that is where Barca are right now. Again, if you don't invest in your team, like we've just been talking and praising Arsenal as a club for backing it financially and investing in it. Remember, Chelsea again, there's nearly £1 billion been thrown into that team. They should be beating Barcelona 3-0, shouldn't they, really? So I just think I wasn't overly surprised. The best game of there was some belters, wasn't there? There was some goals going in all over the place on Wednesday night. PSG 5, Spurs 3, and Arsenal bullied Bayern Munich off the pitch last night and made a real statement of intent. So,
Yeah.
real statement, set piece and some brilliant, a couple of goals really. If you're buying, you're disappointed with your defending on the second and third goals. They'd look at that and go, they give the ball away, and then the goalkeeper had a rush of blood to his head. So, but through the game, they deserved it because they're just such a strong machine. Going to be difficult to beat,
Who this turned to Anfield because Liverpool's week was probably topped off by you got to say it was a bit of a demolition, but PSV, and this is PSV Eindhoven of the Dutch league. They went up. PSV went ahead with a penalty. This is because of the handball. It was what was he doing? I mean, it was. I thought it was a clear handball. It wasn't like it was. He just led with his arm.
It just sums up Van Dijk's season, doesn't it?
It probably does.
He was. What was he moaning about? Moaning about what foul? I mean, come on, he's 6'4", must be 16, 15 stone.
And led with his arm.
Come on. He just put his arm up like, oh no, pathetic. Pathetic. I can't argue with that. I was just amazed about the capitulation. They got a quick equaliser, didn't they? It was 1-1, 1-1. Yeah, and then all of a sudden it starts going wrong again. And then they just stop. You mentioned it already. The application, mentally in their head, they were beaten. As soon as it went 2-1 down, they were in trouble, weren't they?
Well, I was out last night recording some choirs, and I didn't get to see the game. So I always go to BBC website and watch the goals on the next day. It's really good coverage, and I also saw Gerrard and I saw not McManaman, Carragher, and their body language said it all actually in terms of there's nothing you can say, but the thing that got me was tracking back. There was no effort, and it's almost like you would classically say, are these guys trying to get their manager sacked? Because you sort of think there's absolutely no effort in doing the basics, like marking your men, and they were leaving men behind. They weren't marking them in the box. People were making moves and allowed them to break out. I mean, wow! It's what that means, I guess, for Liverpool though is that apparently it's the worst run of defeats in 71 years.
Well, here's yeah. I mean, they're just so porous, and the tracking back. There's a couple of things on that. Momentum in football is it's all about momentum, right? So when you're chasing, keep finishing second like Arsenal, compare the two. If yesterday they're playing that game and they've got to track back, Zubimendi, Declan Rice, I mean, well, to be honest, any of them, Saka, Martinelli, they would have bust a gut to run as far as you want to make sure that those players didn't get a second strike on the ball.
Yeah.
And it's almost like when you've got that momentum and you've got the bit between your teeth, I think your legs are lighter, your lungs are bigger. Everything is not easier, but you just do it because you've got this chase and it's all about momentum. When Liverpool are feeling sorry for themselves, which they are, for some reasons validly, we know about the Jota thing keeps popping up. No one can not raise that. But analytically, not emotionally, you can just see that the mileage they're doing, the amount of recovery runs, I haven't got any of those stats, but it will obviously be very, very different to the Arsenal team. And I think it's just that momentum. When you've got used to losing, it's a problem. When you get used to winning, it's not a problem. And that's where they're at. They've got used to losing. Hey, the great stat on the figures for giving goals away. I told you this off air before. So I had to check this out because they just keep giving goals away. They give 10 goals away in the last 3 matches. So I had a quick look at the fixtures since they began in the Community Shield, which started, remember, it's been a problem from the get-go. They drew 2-2 with Palace and lost on penalties. The first game of the season, they beat Bournemouth, but it's 4-2. And you're thinking, really the same Liverpool that we're used to. So I've had a look. And in no particular order, Arsenal, who are hot favourites all season, have conceded 6 goals. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But if you don't give goals away and you're good at set pieces, Arsenal are going to keep winning. To give 6 goals away, I mean, they've only given about 7 shots away probably, but they give 6 goals away. City have got 16 goals against them. Chelsea 21. And then we move into Liverpool. But before we tell you Liverpool's, Wolverhampton Wanderers, who are the worst team in the league, statistically with 2 points, and everybody's mocking them, rightly so, have conceded 33 goals in all competitions this season. Granted, Liverpool have played more because of the Champions League. What would you estimate? Maybe 5 more? Something like that?
Yeah.
So 33 for Wolves. Liverpool have conceded in all competitions 35 goals. 35 goals. So you in that team of 20 matches have got to score twice at Liverpool to get a draw. Meanwhile, Arsenal have conceded 6. That's a 29 goal against swing. I mean, that tells you everything you want to know about it. 35 goals conceded, and that's a team problem, which goes to your point about tracking back. Obviously, Konate and Van Dijk, everything about it. They cannot defend as a team. It's a big problem.
Well, it's interesting because I heard Gerrard and Jimmy Carragher on one of the channels, because there's so many channels these days, and interesting, Gerrard said this is not a crisis, and using that word is disrespectful. I think that if it was any other club, people would be saying losing so many games in a row, that record over the season and being on the worst run in 71 years, I think that's a reasonable crisis. Do you not?
Yeah, I do. I mean, City had a very similar one last year. Very similar, which we were rightly mocked about. But in our defence, we'd won the title 4 years on the bounce and got a treble. The lads had a right to have a season where the wheels came off it. Anybody can knock that. Oh, and a small matter of Rodri not being there, right? So I'm not making excuses. This Liverpool team have had one season of being brilliant. Did only won that. Didn't go winning anything else. Got done over by Newcastle in the Cup. Didn't get anywhere in Europe. Didn't win the FA Cup. So they got a title. Brilliant. Let's have a parade. But they don't have the mentality to go again in season 2. So how much is the Jota thing? It's got to be, because we haven't really talked about the end of that amazing World Cup qualifying bit, because we've not had one of these since then. But, we had Andy Robertson talking about that, didn't we, after the Scotland game? So, mate, look, I laugh and I think it's hysterical that Liverpool are struggling. But maybe there is more going on in the dressing room since all of that than we all realise. Or maybe Slot's just not very good. We don't really know, do we?
And also, you might have the what can be a habitual problem of you get a star player like Mo Salah that is undroppable because of his talent and his legacy and history, and actually maybe he's got to find a way of playing without him. He's got to be brave and play without him and try something different. And he's slotted in some new players as well. Ekitike, I think, is a new player this season, and there'll be others there. But I don't know. It was interesting. Curtis Jones came out and he went and spoke to the press. I don't think he's the captain, is he? And guys, Van Dijk's the captain. But Curtis Jones said, we need to be like dogs. We need to do the basics. We need to hassle. And I thought to myself, my God, actually, if that's what your point is, that you're not doing the basics, what's going on in that camp? Why aren't you fighting for this? It's so un-Liverpool-like, I think, Dom.
Again, only from my experience last season, it was not City-like, and we would watch games where when we were losing back-to-back, in the first 10 minutes, it looked like we were in the 88th minute and the lads were knackered. It just looked like that because it's like emotionally and mentally, the legs are like lead. They're not making the runs. It's what I was saying earlier. Arsenal are onto everything, chasing every ball every week. The crowd's up, the momentum's there. And when it goes the other way, it doesn't half bite you. As soon as in this game, the fickleness of it, fans get on your back, it's quiet in the crowd, there's nervousness, the other teams can smell it. They come and play in a different way against you. Nobody's in fear. Yeah, no one's in fear. No one's in fear of playing Liverpool at the moment. We look at them fixtures and we start listing who they've got to play, and we start thinking that West Ham away is a banana skin for them. Right? A few weeks ago, West Ham I'd got down for finishing rock bottom, and they're proving me wrong now because they've got their act together. So
it's a real test now of Arne Slot's caliber as a manager, and
yes, it is.
And I think you got to say last year it wasn't a free hit, of course, and they were tremendous, but he didn't have to make so many changes. He was playing with Klopp's side. You got to ask the question of actually, was he in autopilot? Was the team in autopilot? Did he not, because there were momentum coming from Klopp's periods, and now he's making some changes, he's bringing players in. He's not coping. I don't know. It's weird. And also against PSV.
Yeah, PSV, they were just terrible. I mean, that was none of them are flukes. They've been schooled by teams that are better than them. Look, I think they'll come back and they'll sort things out, and they probably will stick with Slot because he's got that credit in the bank. But to win anything in this game, you need a bit of a luck and stars aligned. And last year, he had a very good team, but he kept winning by a goal. He had Mo Salah probably on his final season of brilliance, and everything went right for him. He couldn't stop scoring or assisting. He got brilliant stats, didn't he? But at the same time, City just capitulated in the same way, so they got a free run at it because Arsenal weren't quite ready.
So here's the question, Dom. Do you think it could be SOS Stevie G?
I think, listen, he did it for Rangers. He did it for El Attiyad or wherever he went. I think it's only a step down, isn't it? But you never know. Can you imagine him being there again? As long as he doesn't slip up again. Pardon the pun. But yeah, that would be brilliant. Jamie Carragher is his number 2.
Well, do you know, I've never seen Carragher so quiet on a program after a match. It was actually quite enjoyable, to be honest with you, if I'm being really fair. Let's head into tonight's UEFA Europa League games. Villa are kicking off very soon against Young Boys as we record this, and also who else is in? Rangers are playing Sporting Bragg. Rangers have had an interesting week with the sacking of the CEO and also their head of I think recruitment or scouting. So it's some changes there, and they're not happy. Nottingham Forest are playing Malmo. That's 8 o'clock. That'll be an interesting game. That's like a game you would have picked on your FIFA 99 type thing.
Yeah,
Style
random
Forest.
random teams. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I
And there's
think
stuff
the
that
Hey, listen, with the depth in our league, you've got to feel really confident about the English teams in
doing
these
well
other
in
Euro.
Europe.
Yeah, yeah, because Crystal Palace in their tournament, they look the best team by a country mile. I'm hopeful that we're going to get more finalists again. We've done really well the last few years with
Yeah.
West
Yeah.
Ham and obviously Tottenham and United last year, and so I think it suits the English Premiership teams that get into this tournament to really go
Yeah.
for it. I really do.
And it's a good show for Villa. And I should mention Celtic are away at Feyenoord tonight. And probably the team with the most interesting, I always think it's a funny name, Roma versus Midtjylland. That just reminds me of some like fairyland little place where the fairies dance around. I mean, I don't mean to take the mix so much, but Midtjylland, that's Roma tonight, some 7:45. Quickly, let's go into the weekend because I actually am shocking. I never, until we do the podcast, I never really look at what's going on at the weekend. The Premier League, there's no lunchtime kickoffs actually, which is interesting. There's no Friday night games also. But City are in action at home against Leeds. You'll be there, sir, won't you?
I will indeed.
And Brentford play Burnley. That's an interesting game, actually. Sunderland host AFC Bournemouth. Another interesting game.
Mm.
I'll tell you what's a cracker at 5:30. Everton versus Newcastle United. That'll be a good game.
It will. It will.
And the Spurs versus Fulham, another London derby at 8 o'clock. That's almost a game for the very posh, really. I always find.
Yes.
And then on Sunday, Manchester United are away at Crystal Palace. That's a tough game at 12 o'clock. I tell you what, teams don't do well. Some teams don't do well at 12 o'clock kickoffs. I don't know what it is, whether they're eating steak at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. But 12 o'clock kickoffs. Difficult times apparently, and then there's four other games. 2:05. I always wonder why it's 2:05. Aston Villa versus Wolves, Nottingham Forest versus Brighton Hove Albion, Liverpool away at West Ham. That'll be interesting. And then the guy live on Sky is Chelsea Arsenal, another London derby. That's the thing about the London teams, isn't it? They do a lot of derbies, don't they?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's true. I mean, the Midlands have had a bad time for a while. It's been quite dominated by London and Northwest clubs, hasn't it? Really, and
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah.
obviously good. And we've got a Sunderland and Newcastle derby this year, so I think it's good when there's some of that for the fan bases to get local big matches. It's good. I mean, look, we're all hoping as neutrals, well, particularly a City fan, that Chelsea can slow the Gunners down. Let's see.
Yes.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I mean, even a draw. If Arsenal go and win at Chelsea, though,
It's a statement.
yeah. I mean, they're just on another level at the moment. They're currently on another level. The only thing is, it's still only November, so let's just see what happens.
Well, exactly. We've got to get through Christmas as well, and I haven't seen the schedule for Christmas yet, but typically it's a busy time, and it's an interesting time. But to get through that, you'll wonder, won't you?
Well, this is why I'm annoyed with City on Tuesday, because I think actually we've probably got statistically a better chance of going really deep and challenging in the Champions League, because in a cup competition it's about your best 11, and I think we've got a very good best 11. But Arsenal in a league have got the best 22, and that will ultimately mean that it's harder for us to beat Arsenal over 38 games than it is to get a good couple of performances and find yourself in a semi-final in the Champions League. So let's see.
And he's mixed that Arteta flair with the traditional gunner, arms up, offside type of approach. So they've got a bit of steel about them. Well, look, we'll talk again. It's interesting because United, it's a year now since we got our new manager. 2 years coming up since we've had Ineos, and I wouldn't mind talking to you sometime about what do you think the year under Amrin and the 2 years under Ineos has meant for Manchester United from a city, across the city view. Anyway, that's been the Theatre of Dreams Extra Time. You've been listening to Don Bars. You have not been listening to Richard Irvine. He's missing in action. But I've been Rod Maxwell. We'll see you again next week. Cheers, Don.
Thank you. Bye, Rod.